I mean, all the good AniTubers do mid-season reviews, so why not? I figured doing a mid-season review right now and an end-of-season review allows me to talk about the shows I actually finished more at the end of the season. So we're giving this a shot. Also, this is the first season I can recall where I legitimately don't know what's going to end up as my favorite show of the season. Usually I have that down like a couple weeks in and I do have a front runner, but it's not set in stone. So let's get into it. My Wife Has No Emotion is about an overworked salaryman that tries to start a romantic relationship with his maid robot. I checked out the first episode to see if it was as cringy as I expected it to be, and I soon checked out because it was. I think there's a world where this show can exist with wit and humor and charm, but not this world with this show, so dropped. Twilight Out of Focus is a boys' love show about making a boys' love play with all of the boys' love stuff attached to it. It may be more famous for kicking off the newest wave of Crunchyroll criticism, as hateful message left in the show's comment section led to Crunchyroll just killing the comment section entirely for all of its shows, which in turn brought about a loud revolt. But is Twilight Out of Focus worth this infamy? I don't really think so. But more because I didn't find anything in the first episode that interested me. And yes, I know the show is a yaoi that's fine-tuned for a straight female audience, of which I am neither. But I do find it interesting that this queer guy very rarely gets interested in shows about queer guys. But that's probably a topic for another day. For now, dropped. Days with My Stepsister is about two high schoolers whose parents marry each other and kick off some step-sibling romantic shenanigans. I presume I didn't get past the first episode. And not because I'm inherently opposed to this type of media. God knows I'm watching multiple shows right now with siscon elements in them. But because this show doesn't have much going for it besides some slightly above average cityscapes in the background, so dropped. Shika noko 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 koshtantan. Shika noko 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 koshtantan. Shika noko 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 koshtan. Shika noko 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 koshtantan, or My Dear Friend Nokotan, or just Nokotan. Oh my god, I need to cut here. Features our former Yankee high school heroes developing friendship with a half deer, half girl. It is unquestionably the darling of the season with its slapstick comedy and hijinks and crazy scenarios. A lot of people are comparing the show to Nichijou, and I think for formatting reasons, it's a pretty apt comparison. Though I think it has more of a Pop Team Epic type of energy, though I think it's considerably better than Pop Team Epic. But I ended up dropping it because while I liked some of the jokes, they only really had like a 50% hit rate for me. And its humor is pretty much the only draw to this show, so if that wasn't really working for me, then there's really no reason for me to continue it. Noko 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 Nanare Hananare is a cheerleading show from personal favorite studio of mine, PA Works. A studio that excels about making shows about working adults that do adult things at work and outside of work. Which is why this very basic show about high school cheerleading baffles me so much. Like, why does this show exist, especially from PA Works? I'm not a fan of everything this studio does, but everything they put out at least shows how much they care about their product. But I'm not seeing that same enthusiasm here, which is ironic for a show about cheerleading. Dropped. Senpai wa Otoko Noko is about a cross-dressing high school boy who needs to navigate the minefield of unconventional gender expression. And look, I don't think there's inherently wrong with doing a show about a cross-dressing boy. But considering this country's and this medium's relative silence on trans issues, this seems like another excuse to do a trans show without actively calling it a trans show. And I'm just not down with that kind of attitude. Especially when Wandering Sun, literally the pinnacle of this genre and one of the greatest shows ever made, came out like 20 years ago. The original story, not the show. You get what I mean. I'm sure this show is fine and it has some fans, but as a community, we really deserve much better than this. Unfortunately, it's a drop. Mayonaka Punch is about, I'm not really sure what it's about. Something about live streaming and content creation. It's all very young person and 2024 coded. And I, being old, didn't care for it all that much, so it's a drop. Wow, that is a lot of drop shows. Surely I'm not watching more shows than I dropped at the beginning of this season, right? Actually, I'm not, but the number is closer than I expected it to be. Shoshomin features our two high school age protagonists who live in a sleepy town looking to shed their eccentricities and become ordinary people. The original story comes from the author of Hyoka, which turned into one of my favorite shows of all time. And I'm watching Shoshomin right now, hoping that it rounds into the same form that Hyoka found midway through its first season. And while Shoshomin is beautiful and clever and very Hyoka-like, it's also quite boring most of the time, though I have liked 1 or 2 episodes just outright. I also quite like its OP, and I think its ending theme is one of the best I've ever seen. Though I don't think it's a good sign when the best part of the show is the signal that it's about to be over. Hyoka, this is not, at least not yet. But as it stands, it's certainly a candidate for my most disappointing show of the year. Alia sometimes hides her feeling in Russian features our high school cool girl who has a crush on the main boy, but only reveals her true feelings to him in her native tongue, which is Russian, without her knowing that the main boy can understand everything that she says. I think Alia does all the rom-com stuff really well. It looks really good. It sounds really good. And regarding all the siscon stuff, So our 2 main leads have a really fun rapport. Look, I know the show is weird and horny and might just be straight Russian propaganda, but just let me have this one, okay? Futakire, or Love is Not Indivisible by Twins, features our 2 fraternal twin sisters who both fall in love with the neighborhood boy Jun. At times, Futakire is really smart and really fun and shows the true messiness of teenage love, but there are a couple things that are holding me back from loving this show. For one, it's kind of ugly, especially with the background art, though there is some cool architecture at the homes and at the school. But my main gripe is that these kids seem too media literate to be real, to the point where this show just feels like an excuse for the author to show off just how much Western media they've watched. But if you like anime teenage love triangles as much as I do, then this one certainly works. Giji Harem, or Pseudo Harem, is about a high school-aged actor who falls in love with an older boy in her high school drama club. And when she finds out that this boy has always wanted to be part of a harem, she plays the role of every single harem trope to tease him mercilessly. Don't let the title fool you. This show is squeaky clean and adorable and might be the best rom-com in a very rom-com heavy season, which is crazy considering how low budget this show looks. It's basically a 4-panel comic strip come to life to the point where I don't even know why this show exists in the first place. But I'm glad that it does, because Giji Harem is adorable and punches well above its weight. And speaking of shows that have no business being this good, Makaine, or Too Many Losing Heroines, features our featureless main boy and his incidental friendships with 3 girls that have crushes that don't end up working out. The concept is honestly whatever, but oh my god is this show executed brilliantly. Like, it has no business being this funny and beautiful and real and sincere with a plot that is this dumb. But whoever's working on this obviously cares about it a lot, because the execution on this C- idea is A+ fantastic. Especially this OP, holy third wave ska Batman. I don't know if I'm gonna take this show seriously enough to call it my favorite of the season by the end of the summer, but you better believe that I'm rooting for it to be, because I don't exactly know how to feel about this next one. Oshinoko is about, well, you know what it's about. And if you watch this channel, you might already know that I didn't care for the first season of Oshinoko, but the first season did make me curious enough about what the second season would look like, and boy, was that a good decision. Maybe it's the theater kid in me, or maybe it's the fact that Ruby barely shows up in this season at all. But season 2 is a lot better than the first season, in my opinion, of course. Still, Oshinoko does a lot of annoying things that I complain about constantly on Tumblr, of which I hope to go into detail about at the end of the season. But I'd be lying if I said that I wasn't super impressed by this show. And there's a very good chance it will end up as among my favorite shows of the year and probably my favorite show of the season. I'm excited to see how wrong I will be in a little over a month though.